You have been notified.
Oh,
You are being recorded. All right, Julie, let me turn you over to
did it.
uh, turn you over to the host. There we go. Julie, you are now the host. But let me have a few words to begin with. Hi, everybody. And those of you who are here, thank you so very, very much for your patience. I don't know. This has been a funny one. Screwing up the recording and trying to get the slides working and so on. It was tough. But here we go with Julie again. Those of you who are devoted, and you get the benefit of her graciousness to return tonight. You know, it's 2 hours later there, and so she's working late tonight for us, and we appreciate you for it, Julie. So,
My pleasure.
without further ado, well, let's take it away. Let her rip again.
Okay, well, so nice to see everybody. It's nice to meet you. I'm happy to be here with you all tonight and talk about one of the biggest pain points that we have with ADHD. And I'll share a little about myself before I dive in. I'm a mom with 3 kids. 2 of them have ADHD. And then I discovered that I had ADHD and have ADHD through my oldest son's diagnosis about 10 years ago. And finally, my world made sense when I learned that not being able to finish things, be on time, or stay organized had a name. And after I was evaluated, the psychiatrist looked at me and said, "Julie, you are classic ADHD." And I never thought that I'd be able to make changes, but working with an ADHD coach to help me learn about my brain helped me make a big transformation. And I made such a transformation that I felt passionate about helping others learn that they can move forward too. So I became an ADHD life coach, and I coach teens and college students and adults virtually throughout the country, and help them learn about their ADHD brains and embrace all their unique strengths and improve their executive functions and just about anything in their life that is impacted by their ADHD where they're feeling stuck. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about the struggle that we have with ADHD and procrastination. You know what? Let me just, I don't think it's up here. Let me grab it. Okay. So I'm going to share. Okay, there it is. Okay. The struggle is real, overcoming procrastination with ADHD. Let's get on here. Why do we experience it? And what can we do to conquer it? If you have ADHD like I do, you fully understand that procrastination takes an inherent toll on us. Whether we're actively not responding to an email, not starting a project, homework, doing an administrative task, whatever the task is, it hangs over our heads and it causes us anxiety and drains our energy. And the more we delay doing it, the more we beat ourselves up. If we didn't procrastinate and we could just get the thing done that we want to when we wanted to, it would make our life so much easier. We'd be so much more productive. And it would be so much more relaxing for our brains. According to scientific research, individuals with ADHD brains are wired to seek rest and comfort. As soon as we anticipate work that makes us uncomfortable, we naturally want to escape and do things that feel easier on our brains. So we gravitate toward checking our emails, watching YouTube videos, or playing games on our phones. We immerse ourselves in what's known as pseudo-productivity, where we seek to temporarily escape the feelings of frustration associated with work that feels difficult for us to begin. It's very challenging to access any motivation when we're anticipating a level of discomfort. Understanding why is key. With ADHD, beings, when we don't understand why things are happening, we have a need to assign meaning to things. So if we don't understand our brains and we don't have an explanation for why we're avoiding doing that thing, we'll make it up. We'll tell ourselves, the reason I haven't completed this important paperwork is because I'm not capable, or something's wrong with me. I'm broken. I can't do anything right. I hear so many different things, and I've said all of these things. And these are the common things that we tell ourselves, and they're not true. They're cognitive distortions of reality. The truth is that there's greatness inside each one of us, and the negative stories we create undercut our confidence in our ability to move forward. And I'm going to get into that a little more deeply in just a bit. But first, I'm going to talk about the myths about ADHD and procrastination. It's not because we're lazy. A lot of times we busy ourselves with doing all kinds of things, like emptying the dishwasher, doing an entire cleaning of our room, and that's not lazy. And it's not about willpower or ability to have discipline. A lot of people come to me and they say, I need to have more discipline in order to get more done. And that's not it. If you are procrastinating, there are reasons for it. It's because your brain is not getting what it needs in order to get it done. And we know telling ourselves to do it doesn't work. So we need to understand and address the specific reasons. So I'm going to talk about the top 10 reasons we procrastinate with ADHD. And then I'm going to give easy strategies to help you break down these barriers so you can get into action. Now, while we're going through them, think about the strategies that feel interesting, fun, and energizing to you. We don't know what will work. And by experimenting, you'll be getting yourself into action to learn what will and won't work for your brain. With ADHD, one of our many gifts is our out-of-the-box thinking. So use these strategies to inspire you and use your creativity to invent your own strategies that'll support your unique brain. Now, keep in mind that you'll probably need to resparkleize your strategies, which means you'll need to change them up and try new ones, because after a while they get old, and people with ADHD are hardwired to seek novelty. People start, a lot of clients will say to me, well, I was doing the thing and then it didn't work anymore. And, so there's something wrong with me that I can't be consistent. And it's because, a lot of times it's because we need to change these things up. And with that said, the first reason that we avoid getting started with tasks is it's not interesting. The ADHD brain is wired for interest, and it struggles to be ignited. So interest or novelty is the fuel that ignites our brain and turns it on. And we have to have interest or novelty in order for our brains to be turned on and get engaged. The more interested we are, the easier it is to get started with the task and manage distractions and temptations. When you notice that you're avoiding getting started with something, one of the things you can ask yourself is, how much interest do I have in this? If we don't have a lot of interest, we'll need structures to support ourselves and systems, because boredom is literally painful for the ADHD brain.
Yeah.
So we need to put structures in place and introduce something fun, playful, challenging, something with people or friends. And I'll give you some examples. One thing you can do is gamify it, okay? Which means making it into a game. So, if it's a test that you need to study for, instead of embarking on it alone, think about what you can do to have some fun. For example, you can pretend that you're a contestant competing in a game show while you're studying. Or another thing you can do is bring in music. While you're organizing your closet or your papers, put on your favorite music and dance or sing to spice it up. We derive pleasure from listening to music, and it brings in the fun and the joy that helps break through the boredom that's in our way of starting. Many of my clients have had success listening to classical music without words to get started with administrative work, and more upbeat music with lyrics while they're doing laundry or cleaning. One of my clients had a success getting started by creating their own playlist, where she chose different songs for each task and just made it fun. Another thing you can do is try a reward incentive for motivation. For example, let's say I have a client named Ryan who wants to motivate himself to sit down and pay his bills. And it's really tedious stuff. So what he could do is make a deal with himself that if he spent an hour on this administrative work and paying bills, he could reward himself afterwards by playing some basketball with friends. Or somebody who's faced with a task that's not interesting could invent a challenge, make a fun wager with a friend or family member to make it more interesting. Maybe whoever gets done with the task they need to do first doesn't have to clean up after dinner. Or you can enlist a body double to help you activate. Body doubling is when another person does their work beside you quietly. And this can be done in person, via online video, or by telephone. But the idea is that you have another person there, and what that does is it makes starting a task more interesting. And it's a proven way to help us activate. Barrier number 2. We're not getting started and we're procrastinating because it feels too complicated. Get curious about what the hardest part of the task is, and take a pause to think about what would make it easier. Talking out loud to others can often help, because most of us are verbal processors with ADHD, and talking out loud and brainstorming with another person helps us get clarity, work things out, and problem solve. So you can think about who you can enlist to talk to or brainstorm with you to help you get started. Also, another thing that helps is breaking it down into smaller steps. Instead of having a mindset of doing it all at once, which can feel like a lot, breaking it down into bite-sized pieces can help make it feel more manageable. Give yourself permission to just do one step and forget about the rest. If it feels complicated, because it's confusing and you need more clarity, we're going to address that right now. So if you have a task and you can ask yourself, do I need more clarity? Does it feel confusing or complicated? And what you can do, if the answer is yes, is you can ask for help. Getting help gets us into action. Who can you enlist? A friend, a relative, a teacher. A lot of people have a belief system that getting help makes us weak. Because with ADHD, we've met with failure when it comes to following through with things in the past. Sometimes we feel like we have something to prove to ourselves, and we want to know that we can do it on our own. But we're not meant to do life on our own. Even the most successful people in the world can't and don't do it on their own. Another thing to know is that people like helping. It makes them feel good. So they're getting good stuff out of it for themselves too. Getting a picture of the done, what it's supposed to look like, can be very helpful for gaining clarity. It's, getting clarity on the finished product takes the guessing out of it, and it gives you a clear idea of what you'll be working toward achieving. You can also experiment with your learning modalities. And what I mean by that is, start to notice what helps you typically receive and process information and makes it easier to understand. For example, if you're a visual learner, try looking at pictures or YouTube videos to get clarity. A lot of us with ADHD are conceptual learners, where we need to get an explanation of the concept in order to understand it better and to move forward. And you could be an audio learner. And if you're an audio learner, you'll absorb information easier through listening. And you can try listening to an audiobook rather than reading and notice how it feels. Kinesthetic learners focus best when they're moving around on a bouncy ball or playing with a fidget toy or writing and taking notes while you're listening to what's being said or while you're reading, because it's helpful to have your hand moving and to write when you're doing these things. Sometimes when I need to do some writing, the best way to activate my brain is to talk words into my phone while I'm on the elliptical machine. So, you can use 1, 2, 3 of these to be helpful to you with clarity. Number 4, you procrastinate because you feel overwhelmed. Do you have a to-do list that feels endless? Because long lists can cause us to feel overwhelmed when we look at all the many things we need to accomplish. Looking at it can really put us into fight, flight, and freeze, and then we shut down and we feel paralyzed to move forward. Well, when this happens, here are some things that you can try to reduce feelings of overwhelm and feel calm enough to get activated. Do a brain dump, which means get everything that's involved in getting the task done out of your brain and onto paper. Take baby steps. Breaking these tasks down into smaller steps helps us reduce feelings of overwhelm. We could start any place we want. It could be the end or the middle. Sometimes choosing the part that feels most interesting or that feels the easiest is a great way to start, because you get an early win and it helps you get into action, and then we gain momentum. Calendarizing is helpful. This means to schedule each small step of the task for a different day on your calendar. Knowing that you're on schedule will allow you to focus on that day and not worry about the rest. And don't beat yourself up if you don't finish. Moving it to the next day is perfectly okay. Give yourself permission to focus on that one task. There's a great strategy adapted from a coach named Alan Brown, where you post a post-it, you write a post-it sticky note on a post-it. You write to a note that says, I'm working on this now. And another one that says, I'm going to be okay. And you keep it right where you're working as a reminder to give yourself permission to just stay present with this task at hand, rather than thinking about all the other stuff you need to do and feeling like you need to jump to this and to that and jump around. It helps you relax into just the thing that you're doing right in front of you and stay in the present. And that encourages forward movement. Number 5, you think it's going to take too long. Try setting a timer for 30 minutes so that your brain knows that doing this task will be only for a finite period of time. Knowing it's not going to monopolize too much of your time can reduce anxiety and give you the calm feelings that you need to start. Often, this will create the momentum that you need and cause you to keep going well past 30 minutes and spend more time on it than you thought. Our brains are kind of like cars, and we need to get our brain engines started before they can take off and get going. Practice estimating time. People with ADHD are naturally not good estimators of time. So often, things feel like they're going to take too long because we don't know how long they'll actually take. Practicing the skill of estimating time has been proven to help us with this. You can make it a game and write down how long you think each step will take. And very often when we do this exercise, we'll surprise ourselves and realize that each step does not take as long as we thought. It just tends to feel much longer in our minds. Number 6, what negativity bias can get in our way with doing tasks when we have ADHD. People with ADHD have a tendency for negativity bias, which means that we give more weight to negative thoughts and experiences than positive ones. We remember all the times we stressed ourselves out when we couldn't start until the last minute and didn't follow through, and all the times we were late with things and missed important dates. And we remember these experiences more strongly than our wins and our successes. Because of our history, it can cause us to anticipate failure before we begin and keep us from moving toward our goals. Well, one of the things that we can do to help us shift into a more positive mindset is to begin to notice our inner dialogue and focus on reframing your self-talk. Notice what your inner voice is saying about the thing that you're procrastinating. If your self-talk is, I keep putting this off, why can't I just do it like other people can? Pause and ask yourself, how are these thoughts serving me? And what are the positive thoughts that could help me move forward? What can you say to yourself that would be encouraging and compassionate? Counteracting negative stories changes the chemicals that are coming into our brains. And creating positive thoughts serves as our fuel for motivation. Celebrating our successes can also be very helpful. Why are celebrating small victories important? Because we're inclined to beat ourselves up for not doing the thing and not doing enough. When we pause to celebrate each step forward, no matter how small, and embrace the 1%, it creates positivity and endorphins. And these are the thoughts that serve us and increase our capacity to activate. When we can find ways to remind ourselves of our wins, we can anchor them and refer to them. When we're reading them and we're reading about our successes, this can be a positive source of energy for us. Something I call proud me moments is a list that you can keep for yourself. And this proud me moments list is a powerful exercise where you list events where you felt like you were on top of the world. You know, your energy is just so high when you're thinking about it. And in the descriptions of these moments is evidence of who we are. Looking at them elicits a positive, strong emotion from which we can derive energy and motivation from. And when we look at these moments, it can show the evidence of our creativity, of our determination, of our growth mindset, our kindness, and etc. Another thing that can be helpful is to keep a progress journal, to record the evidence of your progress with the steps that you're taking toward your goals. And this helps you focus on your progress rather than paying so much attention to what you haven't done yet. Celebrations help us look at our barriers in a different light, and they help us change our perceptions. Number 7, you don't get started because you're not in the perfect mood to get started. What do you need? Like, what is a perfect mood for you, or a better mood? Do you need to feel more energized, more relaxed, more alert? Well, as we know, that time may not naturally come when we need it to. And if we continue to wait for it, we may be rushing and not giving ourselves enough time to do a good job on things that are important to us. Or we could be turning in our work late or not getting it done at all. So these strategies that I will talk about now can help give your brain the stimulation it needs to get going. One of the best things to do for our brains is to have fun. So having fun, giving yourself permission to do something you enjoy first before you get to the task. And in general, first thing in the morning is a great way to impact your entire day. We need something fun that pulls us out of bed because we're interested in it. And then our brains will get engaged and create forward momentum before we go to anything harder. Take a walk or a bike ride outside, spend time in nature, socialize with friends, or do something creative. It's counterintuitive for a lot of people, but it's how we get our brains stimulating. And sometimes if it's something that really gets our brains stimulated and it's hard to break away from, use timers and reminders to put a frame around it. Another thing that can help is exercise. ADHD brains have a deficit of dopamine, which is a chemical that helps us with motivation. Aerobic exercise helps boost the dopamine levels needed to get started with mental tasks and increase brain power and give us energy. As little as 10 to 20 minutes can help us get things rolling. It's also helpful to connect to your intention. think about what you really want. Think about what would be meaningful to you about completing this task. How will it make you feel when you're done? What value would it bring to you? It's often hard to connect to this because we're so, our brains are so geared to be in the now. And it's hard to connect to the future and what the value will be for getting this done. Using a visual reminder, like a visual symbol that represents the importance of the task to you, can help you stay connected to your goal and be a powerful motivator, because it's so hard to connect to future you. If completing a project at work is a stepping stone, for example, for your goal of being a successful businesswoman, you might select a visual symbol of someone that represents that for you. It could be a photo of Oprah on your desktop screen. We tend to get distracted from our goals, and these visual prompts can help us emotionally connect to our goals again. Number 8, environment matters. Notice whether your physical environment is set up to inspire you to get started. What will give you energy? What needs clearing from your home and your work environment space that will give you energy and not block your energy toward this goal? Do you typically feel more energized in a tidy, organized space? Some people feel that an organized space causes them to have an organized mind. Or do you need a quiet area, like the library, where you can hear a pin drop? For a noisy area with more activity, maybe a coffee shop would work well for you. Whether in a hotel room or a coffee house, remember that our ADHD brains seek novelty. So resparkalizing and changing your environment will engage your brain. And it's often just what we need to get the ball rolling. You can even try somewhere really adventuresome, like a canoe on a lake, to do your work. Whatever is going to make it a little more exciting. Sometimes we procrastinate because our self-care needs attention. And it's because we're not giving ourselves what we need. If you're feeling low energy, it can be because you need more attention on certain things that would help you gain energy if you're feeling depleted. For example, are you getting adequate, what do I need to gain energy? Are you getting adequate sleep that you need to function at your best? Are you getting enough nutrition? A healthy diet is essential for feeling sharp and up to the task. Before starting, check that you have protein in your belly and that you're hydrated with water. Do you need exercise? Are you having enough fun and enough balance in your life? Social connections are also important ingredients for self-care. If we're not physically and emotionally healthy, we won't be able to, if we are physically and emotionally healthy, we'll be able to function at a higher level than if we're not. Create a checklist to make sure you're getting what you need on a regular basis. We need to incorporate ways to restore ourselves. Sometimes we just are burnt out and we've spent way too much time on a task and we feel depleted. Well, it's like when kids come home from school, they can't start their homework right away. They need to restore themselves, have some fun, have some activity, movement, socializing. So some examples of things that we might need to feel, to help us feel revitalized enough to start, is getting some fresh air, or being in nature. Taking a walk and looking out into the distance has proven to be calming and energizing for our nervous systems. Also, getting sunlight is a way to restore ourselves. Having enough alone time. A lot of us need that alone time in order to feel recharged. And we need to give ourselves permission to take more breaks if that's what we need. Number 10, we procrastinate because we have perfectionism. Sometimes we don't start things because we have these grandiose ideas about how everything should be. And this can paralyze us from taking any sort of action. So we need to find ways to take the pressure off of ourselves. And what I tell a lot of my clients is shoot for the B-. I mean, what is perfect? Is anything ever perfect? Set criteria for good enough. Take the time to think about the bare bones or the essential elements that are needed to get you to the done. Once you're clear about it, make a checklist for yourself and abide by it. Connect with your intention. For example, while working on this project, I had a vision of making a video and incorporating music, but I never made a video before, so there would have been a big learning curve. And so for a while, I just kept putting it off because it felt like a lot. So I decided at some point that the most important thing was not to let my ideas be so grandiose that they kept me from moving forward. So I told myself I can always make changes and revise it later. My intention was to be done so I can put useful information out there to share with people and meet the deadline of my talk. So, and I also wanted to give myself enough time to do a good job with it and not feel overwhelmed by leaving it for the last minute. So I kept a Post-it on my laptop that said good enough equals action, which prompted me to keep my focus on my intention. And I had a picture on my screen to remind me of how accomplished and capable I would feel when I was done. When we're procrastinating, it means that our brain does not have all the information, stimulation, or motivation it needs in order to get what you need to get done. What becomes helpful is to identify what's in your way and experiment with strategies to break down your barriers to action, because we don't know what's going to work. Now, I'd love to hear from all of you and ask you what has resonated with you and get into a conversation about it. But before we do, I want to share my free gift with everybody, which is a guide to help with feelings of overwhelm. It's 7 steps to help you get more done with less stress. And you can go access it right now if you want on my website, www.julieadhdcoach.com. And I'm going to stop sharing in a minute, and hopefully we can all get into, and I can hear from everybody and hear what everyone wants to talk about. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, if anyone wants to bring up anything that they're struggling with or that they resonate with, I'm happy to talk about what anybody wants to talk about.
Thank you. I'm starting a new job on Monday.
Oh, wait,
I've been,
I'm sorry, before you do that, I just want to ask Eric if you need to stop the recording, because now people are going to be sharing things about themselves.
I should have
Bless
shut
you.
it down a moment ago. The sharing can be very, very valuable, but I will shut it down for anybody who would like not to be captured for perpetuity through the recording.
I don't mind.
Anybody got upset about that? What you share will be invaluable. And I don't think you will be exposed in any harmful way. Y'all good with that? You have hereby signed a waiver. Did you know that? Well, you did. Okay. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Okay, so I'm starting a new job on Monday. I've been my own boss for the past 8 years, but my income is too up and down. So I'm going back to call center life, and I'm definitely very worried about it because I have ADHD or ADD at least, and I'm not medicated. And it's a very high stress environment, especially at first, and it's in the morning, and I'm not a morning person like at all.
Hmm. So you're saying that you're switching jobs and you're going to like a really chaotic, stressful atmosphere?
Yes, even the training so far just to get onboarded, it's not even the regular class training, government clearances, security clearances. I haven't been working hardly at all the past 3 weeks because I've had all of this onboarding to do, and they don't understand how much it's affecting me, and I'm sure they don't care, but we're not getting paid, so it's a lot.
Oh, that does sound like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, that sounds very stressful. So what would you like help with?
Well, first, for the past 3 weeks, I've been trying to go to bed earlier. I go to bed between 2 and 4 in the morning, which I'm sure is normal for ADHDers who don't have to work too early. So I've had a really hard time because of having to do the onboarding and also trying to go out and have fun to go to bed by midnight. And this week I'm supposed to be going to bed by 10 p.m. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. It's been very, very difficult just to do that alone.
To get into bed by midnight?
Yes, that was the first goal a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, this is hard. I hear this from so many people who have ADHD, their struggle to get into bed. And have you guys heard of I think it's called revenge sleep procrastination? That's a big thing. And there was so many articles I see. Yeah, Laura and I don't know if your name is Bob, I think. Well, it says Bob on your name thing. I didn't think that was your name, but but you know, yes, this is such a common struggle, and we also have to have our own reasons. What?
Can you explain what that is? Sorry, I don't know what that is.
It's about, you know, putting off going to sleep, and we all have our own reasons for it. And you know, one reason that a lot of people seem to share, and I'm not sure if it's your reason, Stephanie, but is that you know, they're not able to balance their lives during the day and make enough time for me time or,
Mhm.
just, having that peace, or, doing you and your own thing. And so they want to have that time. It's like, it can be a control thing. It can be,
Right.
we have rebel brains. So it could be just that we don't like to be confined or restricted, and we don't want to go to sleep, So, Stephanie, do you have any insight into what gets in your way?
Well, since I've been my own boss for the past 8 years, I can do what I want. So I sleep until noon or 1 every day, and I can work at night. So I work when I want, I do what I want, and it's been great, but it's hard to be disciplined to start by, say, 4 p.m. So I just sleep in, not necessarily until I want to, because I would sleep until like 3 or 4 p.m. if I could. But I sleep until noon or 1. I set my alarm, and then it takes forever to get ready, 4 or 5 hours. Then I work, then I come home, and then yes, I come home around midnight. So I have to be able to unwind and do all the things around the house I need to do, and then watch 1 hour of TV. And then that's my schedule. But now the training I'm doing Monday starts at 7:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is such a big shift. And, and it's, first of all, transitioning is really hard for us. I mean,
Yep.
you had a completely different way of life before this. And now you're transitioning into a whole new type of way of living, and routine. And that's
Yep.
really hard.
Yes.
That is
I've been
very,
trying.
very hard, I mean,
It is.
have you, so this is the thing. With ADHD, it's one of the hardest things for us, and one of the most things that we need most, is to pause and think, give ourselves the gift of time to think about how we can, set up a routine for ourselves for success. It's like you've
Right.
had this dramatic shift, but I'm wondering, how much thought you've given to things that you might be able to shift a little bit. Just
Yes.
maybe start very small with something that might be a little bit helpful, and work in, toward it slowly, and give yourself
Right.
compassion and that time that you need to adjust.
Exactly. The past few weeks I've been trying, I've got that time frame of, okay, I have to go to sleep at midnight. That didn't work, partially because of all this onboarding that's taking me forever. I mean, it's been 300 plus pages of reading. It's all these different training modules, and that's just for the government clearances pretty much, and the personal information. So it's throwing me off to try to get to bed early, because I have to get this done on a deadline as well. And it's just a lot. So this week I'm like, okay, there's no way I'm going to bed at 10 p.m. because I haven't started going to bed at midnight yet. So I am having a hard time figuring out, okay, it's just going to be D-Day on Monday. I'm going to have to get up at 4 in the morning, when that's normally when I go to sleep. So I have so much to do this week as well, that I'm like, well, I don't know how I'm going to get to sleep early enough to start waking up at 9 a.m., which would be more like a day off than a day that I'm going to work.
I mean, I'm a little confused about all the time frames, but I do
Mhm.
hear that you have a lot on your plate, and I'm wondering, if there's anyone that you can enlist for help, or any body doubling you can do. Wait, but is the main problem issue that you're describing, is it about getting to bed early, or is it about shifting things around so that you can get to bed early?
It's, I would say, shifting things around and being able to finish, because I have this added thing of the onboarding that's, I'm having all these deadlines without getting paid, doing all these different training modules, government clearances, and I can't get that done in time to get to bed early enough. And I'm still going out and having fun. Halloween's my favorite holiday, so I was going out all weekend, but it's been difficult because I'm like, well, no, I need to keep going and get this finished because I have this deadline of this date for this particular module. So it's just a lot of pressure, and I've had to stay up to get certain things finished in order to make sure I can start this job on Monday. Otherwise, I won't be able to start the job.
Yeah, well, it does sound like an enormous amount of things to fit into your schedule.
Yes, it's a lot. And I'm used to going to bed late. It's just, I don't know how to go to bed early enough because it takes me so long to get ready for the day, 4 or 5 hours. And it's not with a government agency, but it is, they are contracted with the federal government. So that's why I have to go through all these government things that I've never done before.
And, so, and what's behind it taking such a long time to get ready? You're saying 4 or 5 hours to get out of the house?
To get ready for the day. I got out of the shower recently. That's normal. That's just normal day. Being able to finish everything around the house I need to do, just get ready for the day, then go downstairs, clean the cat litter boxes, and get out of the house, eat, and get out of the house. That's my normal day. Not leaving till usually about 6 p.m., 4 p.m. if I have an appointment. That's a normal day. I'm not medicated.
And it's all on you? Is there anything that you can delegate?
No, I live by myself, and I have elderly parents that I moved here for. So I'm trying to help with that. They're each 2 hours away. My mom's in a nursing home now. So I'm trying to help with that as well. I don't have to do that all the time, every day. I'm not, it's not too much responsibility there. But I'm by myself, so yeah, it's I've got friends, but I don't know if I feel comfortable having them make me accountable for this kind of stuff, because that's embarrassing.
Well, I just want to, I see Laura has her hand up, but I just want to say that, you do have a lot going on. And I just hope that you can make time to give yourself the self-care that you need, and maybe
Yes.
share with, maybe see if you can, I don't know the details of the new job. So let's
Right.
see what Laura has to say. Maybe
Okay,
she,
thank you so much.
of course.
Well, my big thing was I was going to ask Stephanie if she can rearrange some of those things, like the litter box. Would the kitties live if she didn't clean the litter box till she came home? Now, the food is important. I have left the house with no makeup, no jewelry. I keep a set of jewelry, little bitty things in my purse. And I have left the house with no makeup or anything on, and just dressed and fed, because that's
Yeah.
what I could get done to get out the door.
Exactly. I do that all the time. I don't wear makeup anymore because of ADHD.
Yeah, well, I need to hide the eczema that's cropped up because of the migraines, but yeah. So,
Right.
it's just, what can you shift around to make it out the door in time? And
Right.
I know that getting up at a different schedule is a real bully booger, because I used to do graveyard shifts, and then suddenly I had jobs that I was supposed to be there at, 9 a.m. or 8
Right.
a.m. And it was, oh my goodness, Mother Goose.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yes. Oh, Mother Goose. So yeah, but
Yes.
And
I'd
I do
start.
have another question about it too. I'm sorry. Should I tell them I have ADHD because there was a disability form and it wouldn't let me fill it out? And should I tell them, or because I'm not medicated, and a lot of times at my last call center job for 20 years, they noticed. They noticed I was different. So I'm wondering, should I wait until they notice I'm different? Or what should I do there as far as telling them I have ADHD and that's why I'm a little wonky with finishing things?
Yeah, first of
HR.
all, I was listening to Ed Hollowell talk about this, where he
Mhm.
said that, you don't have to say that you are ADHD, but you can say, I know myself, and I do need support in this area or in this area. And that
Okay.
shows that you know yourself, and I think nowadays, like, a lot of companies will offer support. If it
Right.
shows confidence to let people know what you need. Maybe it's whatever it is that would help you do your job better,
Right.
you can ask for, and
Okay.
I have Shaya has her hand up.
Thank you
Did
so
you have
much.
something to say about this, or was it something else?
I guess kind of about this. And I guess this strategy that worked well for me, this was over 10 years ago, but it was also before I knew I had ADHD. And I felt like I didn't have a choice, and I used to put a lot of pressure on me before transitions. And one of the things that really worked well for me before, going back to school or starting a new job, I would always sign up for, like, it could be anything you like, but I used to sign up for like 1 month of unlimited yoga or something. And I would push myself to go like every day in the morning. And it just felt like a great accomplishment in the morning. And then by the end of the month, my stress level would be like so much better, and everything too. Like, it put me in a good place to start out. But I know Stephanie has very little time right now. It's only a week. But my partner also works, he's in and out of town. His work is contract, and he has ADHD as well. And I usually wake up early, but he usually tends to sleep all morning. So again, I don't know if I should recommend this, but one of the things he does use is melatonin. So sometimes he takes the amount for jet lag if he really needs to get to bed by a certain time. And that sort of resets. But I know melatonin has its downsides too if you're using it too often or too regularly. But
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, melatonin wakes me up.
Yeah, I guess it has a different effect on different people.
yeah.
But that's great that you recognized that before you have a transition, Shaya, that you set yourself up for something to give you, a better mindset, because knowing that transitions are really hard.
Yeah, I think also for me, one thing that helped me with sleep is to just exhaust myself physically. So even like signing up for a long hike or something like that, it would just exhaust me. So it just kind of calms my mind and, just help me get to bed on time. It just doesn't give me a choice. So that sort of helped me, with the.
Yeah, I mean, so that's another good strategy. And also just seeing what's possible, about giving yourself that time that you need before 12 o'clock. It's trying to experiment with some, winding down rituals. But let me see what else is in the chat over here. Oh, but I see Val. Okay, so you switched your name. Good. Okay. Val, you have your hand up.
Oh, well, I was wondering, how do you, when you have a significant person in your life, whether that be a spouse or in my case, a daughter, teen, how do you help them when they are struggling? And so it's kind of repeating my question in the chat, basically.
Oh, okay. Do you want to say your question? It's a little
Sure.
small.
Like, so how do you help motivate or even help someone realize that they, when they're struggling to want to overcome their procrastination, when you see that their procrastination is getting in the way of doing just basic life things, as for her, it's being a student. She avoids things she doesn't want to do. She puts her head in the sand, classic things. And so, how do you help someone overcome when they're sometimes resistant to your help?
And that is really hard. How old is she?
16.
Okay, yeah. Because, when they're 16, they're, I'm not sure if you've heard that people with ADHD are you're less mature by 3 to 5 years. in the
Yep.
chronological
Yep.
age. So
Classic.
it's really just it could be like 12.
Sorry, I got something in my eye.
Okay.
I'm not emotional. It's okay. Got something in my eye. There we go. Okay. Yes. Exactly. I mean, I see that clearly. But meanwhile, we need to get through high school.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and is she's not open to getting help from not only you, but outside help?
She might be potentially. I've actually, she sees a therapist, but I have considered, coaching, because I've had various coaching in my life, and I find it really not necessarily even just ADHD, but just a life coach. And I found coaches are very helpful because they're very action and solution oriented.
Yes. And also very strength-based with ADHD coaching. And somebody did also ask about coaching, so I can address it, right now, what it's like. And, so you've had life coaching, so this is with an ADHD lens, and, really bringing awareness to understanding her brain for herself is really huge, because when you don't, as I was saying in the presentation, when you don't understand your brain, or why you're doing something and why you're not able to do something, you make up stories in your head like you can't, or you're broken, or there's something wrong with you. And when
I
you
think
don't have,
she understands her brain. It's bad, but does she really want to do something about it? That's
right.
And you can create, I am very talented in coming up with systems. I'm good at it. I was a former teacher, but someone has to be willing to implement their system. You have to be willing to follow through. If you're not willing to follow through, all the great systems in the world will not be successful. So it's like, how do you get someone to finally see, kind of like that first step, admitting you have a problem?
Right. And are you, so yes, great with systems. Are you also, well, I'm hearing two things. Number one, she may not be interested in doing the systems, but if you're making them fun and you're collaborating with them, what do you think? Let's do this fun, make this fun somehow. There's the possibilities of that, but then there's also like what my son used to not want to do his work, because he just didn't see why it was important. A lot of people with ADHD, they're like, this is so stupid. Like, why am I even doing this? Why do I have to learn this? You
Mhm.
know, and like, you know, refuse. And, you know, I've like with him, I've seen at that age, he didn't want to try. He didn't care. You know, it's like, you know, the now and the
Or
not
not
now.
now.
He didn't, you know, the now was so interesting to him, and he wasn't connecting with that he was going to be under so much stress, you know, once he had to get that homework in. But now he's a sophomore in college, and for the first time, now he's open to working with a coach, and he's seeing that he, you know, he wants to do it for himself. Like, you know, I think it was a maturity thing.
Yeah,
That-
so maybe it's you have to be able to be willing to let them fail.
And that he did fail. He did not do well his first year of college and had to come home. He wasn't ready. He was not mature enough. And now I see him maturing, you know, at 18. So, you know, it's like either they can connect with, you know, a coach and be willing to do it and to try and because the coach can help them put themselves in the future. And, you know, there are all sorts of things that a coach can do with them to see what's possible, because there's a lot of black and white thinking, and there are a lot of belief systems that they have in their thoughts that a coach can help them uncover and you know, just work in the shades of gray, because they think it's either this or this, and you know, sometimes they don't see another way, or there's a lot of shame. And so, you know, but if they're willing, it's worth a try. Because I know how exhausting that could be for a parent, when, you know, you don't want to see your kid stressed out, you don't want to see them fail. And from my own experience, it did take failure to grow, you know, to fail forward, as they say. And you know, and maturity, I think.
Yeah.
You know, so sorry if I didn't have a
That's
No.
okay.
Yeah,
Another
just a
but-
moment, Julie.
Thank you, though.
Sorry.
Patrick, we see your hand up. We'll get to you in just a second. I want to make.
Oh,
two-
yes, I'm sorry, Patrick.
Val, you know
Yeah.
Roxanne, who normally joins us on these videos on our program?
Yes,
Okay, Roxanne would be absolutely an awesome coach to connect with. You could not, that's a great place to start. Do you have her contact information?
you know, I feel like I did it one time, and yeah, if I would love to have it again, actually.
Okay, so email me, I'll give you my
Okay.
email address, and I can send that to you. Secondly, though, Val, I was wondering, look at if I can get this recording off this time, what are the odds that you and your daughter might sit down to watch this together?
I did think about that as well.
Or
So as long as she can also be playing 3 games at the same time while listening, then
Sure.
I might be able to.
but then, what about the possibility of sending
That's a well done.
to her therapist and suggesting that they sit down, possibly, and watch it together? Because it's such a wonderful step-by-step. It's so clear. I think you've done a brilliant job of simplifying it so beautifully, Julie. So I was just throwing those things out, but Roxanne is a great place to start. Cool.
Yes, I could totally see that. So that did thought cross my mind. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
And I surrender my time to Patrick.
Oh, yes, Patrick.
Thank you. Yeah, Val, I just wanted to toss my 2 cents on there. I grew up with ADHD, and I was in and out of doctor's offices with my mom trying to figure things out. It was all kind of self-driven, so I had the interest in trying to like sort things out. It sounds like you're trying to provide resources and be included and involve yourself in your daughter's life. I will say this go around within the last year with my significant other, I've been reading through, it's been brought up a couple of times, but the Your Brain's Not Broken book. And there's a couple like, not activities, but really cool like call to actions that really include, and they're kind of fun to do. So I think I've had success just surrounding myself with my significant other with the information of like what's going on. And I think that inclusion has just spurred a lot of not only interest in me figuring this stuff out, but also like having somebody else there that's like rooting for me and or including themselves in the information to like have a nice dialogue about it really cements kind of the interest in the information. So that might be helpful, but that's just my own experience.
Thank you.
Thanks. And Cher, you have your hand up. Hi.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for doing this again.
Oh, you're
I
so
think
welcome.
I listened the first time, and I think I pick up something every time, or maybe just something different that I need that week. I had kind of like two questions, and then I was wondering something based on Val and Patrick's information is with teenagers. As soon as they said, well, sit down and go over this, I was like, oof, and I found that sometimes I like to walk and talk a little bit with teens. And I know for mine are much older now, they tend to want to talk at the most inconvenient times. And so like, it's 2:00 in the morning and I think I'm going to bed, and that's when they are ready to talk, and I'm like, oh, I'm only up by mistake. Anyway, I sometimes I think with teens maybe walking and talking, I don't know if anybody else has found that to be a comfortable way to have those discussions or listen to things. But my question is for Julie is, when you're working with an ADHD coach, what does that look like? Because part of me thinks, oh, one more person to be accountable to let down. They're going to want me to be at a certain place at a certain time. And am I just setting myself up for, messing it up again? So what does that really look like? And
Great
as best
question.
you can say.
Yeah, well, it's completely non-judgmental and there's no expectations. So the coach is basically partnering with you, but following you and the things that are meaningful to you, your goals, and meeting you right where you are. And you're basically taking the lead, so you're bringing things and the coach is coaching you around it, but you're moving toward your goal, and looking at belief systems, black and white thinking, language, energy, and helping you with awareness of yourself and identifying the obstacles in your way. And it's also, it's very strength-based, but there's no, what I'm hearing is that you think that there's going to be a lot of pressure on you. There's none. There's no pressure on you. It's all, you're completely in charge. And you're taking very little, you're invited to like experiment with something small. There's no homework, based on the conversation. There's no, you're learning how to support yourself. And, so there's no pressure from the coach for, adhering to anything the coach wants, because it's all about what you want, and it really is about digging up all the beautiful, unique things about you and your strengths and helping you see them and how they can help you with all the things that you're trying to improve. So Did that answer your question? Or
Yep. How frequently would you meet with somebody, or does it just depend?
Well, at least in the beginning, it's once a week. You know, it's a change process. But I always like to get it going with once a week, especially in the beginning. And then it becomes just not a cookie cutter situation. It's like, however, you know, people will work best. You know, it could turn into every other week, or it could turn into 2 half-hour sessions. You know, it's whatever helps, whatever works for that person. But usually it's an hour, you know, like 50 minutes to an hour. Like that. You're welcome.
I'd offer too, a really good coach provides you with a compassion that you've never experienced before. That you will discover somebody who's willing to listen you out. So that all those things, you mentioned the inner dialogue, and what a coach can do is listen to, when you tell a coach your inner dialogue, you've gotten it out. It's almost like a wonderful cleansing confession. And they can hold that inner dialogue in a way that arrests your judgment. And the liberative quality of that is something you can't imagine until you experience it. It's emotional. It's not just technical, not just cerebral, not just fix it. It's about
Right.
your being come forward.
Yes, agreed. It's not tips and tricks.
Right.
It's about like growth of the whole person and just really being heard and understood in a non-judgmental space.
Then can I have a follow-up question? What
Sure.
if I'm the judgmental person? What if I'm the one who's more committed to my facade or my mask, and I just want to know how to make the mask real versus leaning in and being accepting and being non-judgmental? I don't, you know what I mean? Because sometimes that's the hurdle, is that I don't really want to be ADHD. I want to figure out how to overcome it rather than accept it.
Well, that, you know, and that is something that, you know, the coach will notice, explore with you, get, you know, dig into, get behind, and help you become aware of what that's about, you know, and what you want to do about it.
Did that register?
What?
I was asking her if that registered. Did that make sense?
It does. It absolutely does. I think the way to go is to try to be as accepting as I can, but you know, I catch myself for sure. I do know people who are absolutely, that is not what they're going to do. They want to find a way to like hold themselves accountable and I don't know, atomic habit their way out of ADHD. And it's a kind of a self-rejection, I think.
Well, I think a good coach will help you massage all of that, let's say, into a new disposition.
That would be good. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And now I know we have Laura and Brooke. I don't know who had their hand up first.
Brooke
Laura.
hasn't gone yet.
Okay.
Brooke, let's let Brooke speak. She hasn't spoken yet.
Okay.
Hi there, my name's Brooke. I've never been to one of these meetings before, but I was so excited when I heard it. This is my daughter Dylan, and she was diagnosed with inattentive type ADHD just about a month ago, which is not a surprise because I think I had it. I have it. It's there. Anyway, this is so, well, we're trying to figure out how to move forward, and it sounds like ADHD coaching is the thing, but we're wondering, would ADHD coaches ever work with both of us? Because we're just trying to figure out like if she should get a 504 or if there's like reasons not to get a 504, but we just don't know what we don't know, and we're paralyzed, and
we don't want to go down the YouTube hole, so we're like,
yeah, we've watched a lot of YouTube videos about it, but it's like it's not helping us take action. So it kind of maybe I feel it seems like maybe that's an odd request to have a coach that would help both of us navigate this.
Well, I'm hearing two different things. Well, first of all, there's the 504 plan. Now, why wouldn't you get a 504, and why would you, or why wouldn't you?
Well, oh, sorry.
well, I don't know, like the 504 just seems a little bit extreme because it's like they're legally obliged to, and I'm like, I don't think that's.
She doesn't like to impose on people, and well, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we both relate to what Shara was saying, where we don't actually want accommodations, and we don't want we just want to function. Like we just want to be like everyone else. I guess. I don't know. So she doesn't want to be different. She doesn't want to be treated differently, and I am concerned because friends of mine have had to sue her previous school because the 504s are just being ignored, and they were it felt like it just caused a lot of animosity between the school and the families. So I'm worried that there will be some negative consequence for, because we did mention it to the coordinator, and he was kind of like, her grades are okay. I should mention she's actually also gifted, so she's twice exceptional. And so she can figure it out on her own, but she should be able to learn it in the classroom and not have to white knuckle it at home and teach herself, so accommodations I think would help with that. It's just that I feel like we're already getting pushback saying that she doesn't need it because her grades she's not completely failing. And you're doing great. I'm not saying anyway, and so I think we're both just kind of ooh, it seems like they don't want to do it. We're just gonna back away. Yeah.
So, well, before I jump in, I think Patrick, did you have something to say about the 504 plan?
Yeah, so I actually wanted to, if you don't mind, so I grew up kind of in a similar situation, and I kind of internalized this message that I just couldn't function in normal society or normal school rules, or even going off to college. I had to use my own tricks of sitting in the very front of the classroom so I wouldn't be distracted. And those things significantly impacted my performance. It was only until recently where I kind of really started to rebuild the message of society isn't built for brains that are not neurotypical. And so there is a balance of not wanting to have other people make accommodations for you, but at the same time, I think it's worth, for me, it's been transformative to acknowledge that, society doesn't necessarily play to my strengths. And I think I've heard my friends, I didn't realize this, but I had some friends who went off to different college who also had ADHD, and they got exceptions to take tests in a separate room. So that was all they did, but they massively performed better. And I never knew that was even a thing that I could do. So I think had I had known that, I would have performed a lot better. I would have felt better and more confident about who I was. So there's some acknowledgements of society kind of sucks sometimes, and it would be great if it was more accommodating. But also, not making a ton of exceptions for you. I totally understand that. There's all sorts of stuff that comes with that. So that was my 2 cents.
Yeah, thank you. And I think a lot of people have things to say about this. Laura, did you want to weigh into this? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I just unmuted myself. I got the silly message going, you're still on mute, beautiful. In order, Val, Your daughter's not the only one that has to do 3 or 4 things at the same time. When Zoom came up, I had to tell people the best way to keep me from interrupting and being to everything, I'm going to sit here and play solitaire on my tablet while we're talking on my other tablet at that time or computer. So doing 3 things, I never just watch TV. I'm always playing at least a couple of games. Share, share. At work, you know, getting in there and, one of the best things I heard, and I think it was at one of the first CHAD meetings I went to with at the school. Either that or it was one of my therapists. The only path to overcome is to accept. You accept that this is the mountain. For us, the mountain's called ADD, ADHD. And the only path to get over the mountain is to accept that that mountain is there. Then we can move forward by climbing that mountain and doing what we need to do. To Brooke, I know about the white knuckling at home. And because I've also got a vision tracking disorder, it takes me 4 times longer to get half as much done, even with a screen reader and things like that. So all the 504 does for her at school will help her get the information presented to her in a manner that her brain's most accepting of it, so that she can actually get more of that homework done at school, more of the schoolwork understood and taken care of at school, and have less to come home and white knuckle on. And that's the biggest thing. Like Val, I think his name, one gent, your Val, he just went off the side. The biggest thing was, the guy took a test in a separate room so that he didn't have to have all the other people around him. Yeah, me, I've got other things going down, but yeah, the 504s. Now, since I'm an adult, I also work with Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. Absolutely love them. If anybody wants any info on them, have Eric give you my email. But yeah, 504s, IPEs, or IEPs, individual education plans. If the school gives you any pushback, take it higher, because no, they should not be giving you rations about having an individualized education plan. And just get you the information presented the way that she can understand it, the way her brain can absorb it, so that she does less white knuckling. I powered through for decades before I even knew I had ADHD. And it was, now I know some of the ways that I can help myself. And it's only white knuckle, not, oh my God, I'm failing yet again.
For the sake of time, we're running a little bit over, but I want to get these other folks in. So I'm not sure which order to take them in. Julia, maybe, is that you, Shia? Were you next, or?
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't
please.
mind going later if anyone else wants to.
Let's go ahead, please. Let's jump right on in.
Okay. Yeah, Brooke, I guess I don't know too much about the plan. I mean, I live in Canada, but I guess I could share my experience growing up with undiagnosed ADHD, and sort of I learned to do the same thing. I would come home and teach myself things, and I did okay in school. And I even thought, I understood things maybe a little better because I was digging into stuff and learning it on my own. But down the road, things do catch up. And now looking back, I wish I had some support, because, like everyone's saying, white knuckling, it has its other, over time, it's gonna contribute to other mental health issues like as soon as I got to college, I mean, I had trouble keeping up with the workload, and then I realized I lacked some of the very basic learning skills, like to keep up with the regular schoolwork and all of that, because all my energy was spent on, just learning things on my own. And yeah, and it just kind of, you feel like you're drowning once you reach that level. So this can go on up to a certain level, but after that, if she's not developing the basic skills needed, then it could become a struggle. I mean, that was my experience. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Shai. Thank you. Shall we go to Denise? Are you
Hi.
there? Hi. Is there something you wanted to share with us, Denise?
Okay, yes. Okay, sorry. This what Brooke said really resonates with me, because I am undiagnosed. I've been undiagnosed for 50 years, and I suffered through basically through college, because since I was also above average, it was so easy to go through high school, and then I hit college. I did not have the support I needed. And my first, second, and third semesters in college were sort of a failure. And that really put me into depression. It was horrible. I wish I had the support I needed, but it didn't happen, 40 years ago. Nobody knew about those things. So with my daughter, who's also gifted, and has ADHD. We diagnosed her since she was 6 years old. I did the 504, and these really helped her and has been helping her. And the 504 is not like, a one plan that you have to do this and that, and every single year. No, you modify it according to her needs. Every time that she talks to the teachers, every time that you have the meeting with them. And sometimes she's better, sometimes she's not, and it evolves and really helps her. My daughter is, still struggling with accomplishing things and getting things done, but most of the time she can do it much better than she used in the past. And what I would like for her is to be able to go through, she's in 8th grade right now, so high school successfully, and especially when she gets older, because after high school, my opinion, the world is not that easy, and the world is not that forgiving. So it's better for her to have the skills she needs and understand how she works, understand how her brain works, especially to be able to be successful and be happy and not have the anxiety and the depression that I had through 30 years in my life about now. So do not be afraid of doing the 504. It's not going to put her in a little box and make her follow rules that she doesn't feel is good for her. I think it will help her and enable her to understand how things work better. At the end, if it doesn't work for her, you can still get out of the 504. It's not it is not a set stone that you're going to carry for the rest of her life. She's not going to carry for the rest of her life. So I just wanted to say that, because I've heard so many people in the same situation and afraid of doing that because they don't have the correct information.
Perfect, Denise.
So
Thank you.
another thing, I don't know if you are, well, if you're in Denver, I don't know her age, but it may be a good thing to reach out to schools that are more geared through it. So my daughter bloomed after she went to Challenge School, because most of the kids at Challenge School have some type of neurotypical difference than a lot of kids. So anyway, it was just something that.
Thank you. And Val, you get the last word.
Well, I also want to highly encourage you to get a 504 plan. It can carry you all the way into college. And honestly, if you're getting pushback from a school, I do also recommend you potentially seek out a different school. My daughter's twice exceptional. I totally understand this, and schools are not allowed to use good grades as an excuse to not give a child a 504. That is totally wrong. And there are educational advocates out there that you can hire. I had to hire an educational advocate at one point for my own daughter, because my daughter had an IEP and a school was going to reject us because she had an IEP. 504s tend to not be rejected in charter schools because if it's a charter school, they can reject a child on IEP based on their availability of resources. But if it's a public school, standard public school, they cannot ever reject a child based on their IEP or a 504. There's just so much to learn. Understood.org is an excellent website you can look at. They have lots of resources on IEPs and 504s, but I would really do your research. And for your daughter, sweetheart, you need to know how to advocate for yourself. That is the most powerful thing and skill you can learn. It is important. That doesn't mean to be rude and that's not. You can learn to advocate for yourself in strong ways that are also kind. And so I don't dismiss yourself. You deserve the help. You deserve, you deserve it all. So don't be afraid of the 504. I had to one time advocate for an IEP because the school was not following through on the 504, and the IEP is one step up, and they have to, it's contractually, it's a little more intense as far as they have to follow through on that. So anyway, I say don't fight and don't be worried what people think of you. You are special and you're important and you deserve it all.
Wonderful. Love it.
Julie, any last things before we wrap up?
100% agree. That was beautifully said, Val. And,
Yes.
well, I just was so happy to have this conversation with all of you. And, it's so nice to be in a space where everyone can talk about things that are struggling with, that they're struggling with, and feel, that, comfortable to do so. It's really important that everybody knows they're not alone, and they're, these things can be spoken about, and we can learn from each other, and trade resources, and, to not feel alone, and to know that there is always a way to move forward and not to give up. And, just know that everybody, all of us, we all have strengths, and we all, deserve the best, and people to connect with as well, to support us to move forward. So
What do you have for us? So beautifully.
Well, so happy. Thank you, Eric, for inviting me back.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you all for coming, and for talking together about everything.
Stand by, folks. Roxanne and I are putting together next month's program, and Roxanne will be running the show. So stand by for that, and keep an eye in your email boxes for notices for that. Okay? Okay, then. Good night, everybody.